We're live, part two. I don't know what to say. It's just been beautiful. Some real gems have just been shared today, and things that are just eye-opening, even for me, who as a child, just learning about new mindsets and the way that we can engage them strategically to, put our children in some really prominent positions in the future. Let's get into part two. Ah, Elaine, thank you so much for all your sharing, man. Because and this is what I remember from our first meeting. And it's like what you said, coming into your presence, you want people to leave differently. And I remember distinctly that meeting, just thinking, geez, like I knew I was going to have a child. And at that time, I didn't have a child.
Yeah.
And now I have a child. And I remembered there were certain things that Elaine said that I will have to adopt as a parent, and now I'm a parent, and so even more so, this conversation resonates with me, and me and my wife will probably watch over it again and see how we can just kind of learn from it. And guys, everyone that's watching, I really after this, make sure you follow Elaine, you really trawl through all the different dynamics of her business and see where you can plug in, whether it's being the parent coach, whether it's her placement opportunities that helps place your children into these institutions, the House of Pharaoh, where they can springboard, because a lot of these children are springboarded into corridors of power because of who their teacher was, because of who their friend was, because of who their friend's dad is. I remember I was in one private school, and I teach finance to young people,
Oh,
and
wow.
I said to the class, was it year 8? I think it was about year 8. I said, who knows what interest is? Normally, in the normal schools that I go to, that's when they're silent. And one boy puts his hand up and says, interest is APR, annual percentage rate. This is a charge for borrowing. I said, what? I said, but how do you know this? He said, my dad taught me. I said, what does your dad do? Oh, he's the head of HSBC. I said, what? I said, oh my gosh. No, of course. Of course you know that. And I remember
Unexpected.
I was sitting in reception, and I was waiting to go into the classroom, and a man came barging into the reception, and he said, "Oh, please, miss, could you give this to my son? He forgot it." And I turned around thinking it would be a lunchbox or a coat. It was a cello. He had forgotten his cello. And then in another instance, we were walking through the corridor to go and eat after I taught. And there were bags and coats on the floor in the hallway. Now, I've been to inner city schools, and that's a no-no. So I said to her, why is the place just littered with bags and coats? She said, oh, they've gone off to their clubs. I said, clubs? She goes, yeah, they don't go out to play. They don't go out to play. They go to archery. They go to learn this language. They go to learn this. And so one question I wanted to ask you was, what have you seen that is so different on that side? A state school versus a private school. What is it that is of benefit for someone to go to a prep school or a private school? That we've talked about the fees, and there are ways around this. What is advantageous about a parent engineering and strategically and trying to position their child to attend one of these schools?
Okay. So, for example, the school day is longer. So you'll
Oh,
find that private schools tend to start at that you're getting at 8 or even 7:30 for breakfast club, and it's not the breakfast club we know with a little bit of cocoa pops and milk. No, listen, breakfast.
oh
We
gosh.
used to go with our whole family, like my mom, my dad, and you'd go there and be families. You're
Mm,
sitting down to have an English breakfast
wow.
before school. The school bell, then they have to be out of the dining room by like 8:15, and they have registration around 8:30. Now most state schools start at 9,
Mm,
and then their school day ends usually about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. um the younger ones 3:30, but remember, even if they finish at 3:30 or 3 o'clock, they then have extracurricular activities. So activity, it could be jigsaw club, where we were getting jigsaw club. Listen, that jigsaw club teaches you about spatial awareness and how to problem solve. Jigsaw club. It could be chess club. It could be and I just said, I'm sorry, why are you going to that? Robotics club.
Oh, say that again, breaking up.
Lego club. Whatever your child has an interest in, there's a club in it, because there is a for what
I think you said robotics club.
oh gosh. Can you hear me though?
I can hear you, yeah.
Cool. We're back. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Instagram didn't want us to be great for a second there. So
but
yeah,
you said robotics club.
Yeah, robotics club, coding club. And you don't get these in inner city schools. You don't get these in state schools. So as a parent, if your child is in a state school, you need to start, somebody said robotic what? You need to start looking at this outside. And sometimes it's a case of looking in your area. So what I tend to say to a lot of parents is when they come to me, okay, what's your child good at? They might say, oh, they're really good at running, right? Yeah, the state school have clubs, but they're not on the same level as these clubs. So they could have a club where, for example, my son's old school, Lord Seb Coe, Sebastian Coe, right? Cole came in and did like a whole training session with the athletics team. You're not going to get that in the state school. Right? They'll get somebody who maybe climbed Mount Everest to come and speak to the children and give them inspiration on a regular. You're not going to get that in the state school, right? So what I tend to say to a lot of parents is, okay, what's your child really good at? If they've got a boy, they're going to say football. Okay, they're good at football. What do they play for a club? Do they play nationally? And they're like, oh, they play at school during the playground. I'm like, no, that's not true. Well, cheek baby, you can say what you want, but hey, girl, you're talking to the educator. So, but the thing is this. What I always tell parents is, God asked Moses, "What have you got in your hand? What have you got in your hand? What is your child good at? And let's work with the tools that we've got." So, for example, if your child is good at running, get them in a club, get them athletics club, get them to start running, get them to start running. If they're good, somebody will see that they're good and they will begin to nurture that. And being that good, a school sees potential. And at the end of the day, the school wants to write that their alumni was this. They don't have to let anybody know that nothing in the making of that child, but they opportunities. You can't have access to opportunities if you don't begin to build yourself at all, And so in terms of those extracurricular activities, they build resilience, they build confidence, build the ability to also teach your child how to network. Yes, it's very important for parents to do their part as well. Somebody said it is. But they feel like they can't network or they can't speak up because maybe I didn't go to a school that great, like them or that parent. But you know what? You'll be surprised that the parents love you because you're different. They're fed up of seeing the same people, but you're different. My youngest son was in a class with a boy. Surname was Fleming. Listen to the story. So, and he was in a boarding school, and every weekend or every other weekend he'll say, "Oh, mummy, I'm going to Will Fleming's house." And I'll be like, "Okay, that's fine. Have a great time. I'll pick you up whenever." It wasn't until the end of the school year 8, that we went to the house for lunch. And no, we went to the house for like the end of year 8 dinner. So we went there, and we went there, and I went to the toilet, and I came out, and I went, oh my gosh, you've got a lot of 007 books here. Because they live on literally like an estate, right? So I said, you got a lot of 007. And he said, oh yeah, my grandfather wrote them. And I said, wait,
Ian Fleming.
so your grandfather is Sir Ian Fleming? He was like, yeah. And it never clicked that his surname was Fleming. And his parents are the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. If you see their car, you would never, I never in a million years put that together, because I was so down to earth. The dad was so down to earth. So it was only later that I said to my son, I don't care if you fall out with that boy, yeah, keep that network. Keep that network. You know, and I'll give you another story. So he was in class with a girl, and he told me, oh, I'm really good friends with this girl. Like, they're really close, like really close. They've been friends from like year 6. And he said her name's Delilah, and I said, I don't like that name, you know. I'm an African mum, so I'm like, Delilah, Samson, Delilah. Her parents will pay for me to come to Monaco. And I said, oh no, Kale, like, it's okay, like, stay at home kind of thing. And then so I was speaking to another friend of mine who's in her. I was like, oh, so tell me about Delilah. She said, you do know who Delilah's grandfather is, don't you? And I said, who? She went, Al Fayed.
Whoa. What did you say then?
They're still besties. I said, that's cool, you know. I'm just, that's fine. If you want to
have fun
friends with her, that's cool.
That is crazy.
Because what I'm doing is I'm giving my child. And you know what? I'm not saying to a state school and end up in Oxford and Cambridge and the rest of it. You can, however.
Yeah. 100%.
However, I know people that didn't pass exams, but they are doing bigger jobs than people who did pass exams. It's about your network. It is about your network. And that, when you're going to a private school, is what you tend to pay for.
Okay. And I think I remember I went to I taught in Eton, and
oh yeah, I think we even had this conversation.
Yeah, I went to teach in Eton, and you know, walking into the reception, it just had, you know, Prince William, you know, Princess Diana with, you know, the sons being introduced and everything. And I just thought, if you were in the classroom of Prince William, Prince Harry, like, automatically there is a synergy that you can tap into. There's a circle you can tap into. And nobody is, you know, and we're not saying that, you know, just go into those circles to leech off people. But we are saying that use that network to advance your purpose and what you've been called to do. You know what I'm saying? There's certain areas that I can't get to. But if someone before me is up there, they can pull me up. Because the more of us that are in places of strategic power, then that's when we're looking at change. Because the change can happen voluntarily from the bottom through the people, or they happen through the top. But the beautiful change is when they happen at both levels. When we're talking about Black Lives Matter, and somebody in a position of power, strategic, influential power, can make one move, and everything we've been shouting about can become actual, you know, reality. So some people have to go. Some people will be on the ground, but some people have to be walking in those corridors of power, who know their self, who know their God, who know their purpose and know their vision, and are able to stick to it, even in those positions, and execute what they've been, like, called to do. And I think it's therefore important for us to not just see it as a trophy. My son goes to Cambridge, but like you said, does Cambridge fit the mold of where your child's vision is, and what is pulling the vision of your child? Because Cambridge may not be it. It might just be Middlesex University, or it might just be Brunel. Cool. But if Cambridge, if these houses of Pharaoh fit the mold of where you see this child's vision going, then cool, let's do what we can to, you know, to position them.
Sometimes I just want to say that sometimes Oxford or Cambridge is not right for you for your first degree. but it might be right for you for your second degree. What's the plan? What are we trying to achieve here? And I remember the story that my brother told me. My brother went to really good, he's a partner in a magic so-called law firm now. And you don't see people of color there, right? So he said that one day he was headhunted by someone to come and work. You don't see. So he was in the city and he'd left his at home, and he walked into the bank and he said, in the bank, if you haven't got your ID front and back, like a tenner, so it's really difficult. He said, he's a lawyer. He said, can I speak to your manager? And they were like, sure. Manager walks out. It's like, hi, how you doing? They went to school together. And he just turns around and says, give him what he needs. Gave him what he needs, and he went, network. It's about network. And it is also about, what's the end goal? What are you trying to achieve? I always say to my children that even if you want to be an actor, and if you look at most of the actors that get Oscars, they went to private schools. So even if you want to be an actor, you are going to be the best actor. You're going to go to the best schools. You're going to be at the top of your game. You're going to go and be in the best auditions, in the best shows. You're going to be the best at that particular industry. But remember, there are 7 pillars to society, and we need to be in all of them. We can't just be in sports or entertainment. We need to be in all of them. The church is one of them. What is Black excellence? What's the standard? What are we going for here? And I think it's really important. Somebody said it allows you to walk. Yes, David. That's a headmaster on there. A really good friend of mine. He's a headmaster of a private school. He's really lovely. And if we're really honest, I was on a panel recently at independent schools. Somebody was talking about, grammar schools or really good state schools, and somebody was talking about homeschooling. And off camera, I said, I applaud all of you, what you're really doing. It's really amazing. But to the mother that homeschools, I want you to name 5 CEOs.
But what'd you say? But what?
But I want you to name 5 CEOs in the world that were homeschooled. Yeah, we can wait. There wasn't one. There wasn't one. And so the reality is the system is set up in a way that, yes, there are systemic issues, but we're going to use that system to get us to the top. If you look at different races and different demographics of society, they've used that system to the best of their ability. So if you suddenly see now that there are a lot of Asians here, and where did they come from? They used the same system to get up there, but they used it to their greater good and their purpose, if that you understand what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I think that's important, like someone mentioned in the comments, just regarding, it might turn us into, it could turn you into a pushy parent, a parent who wants to enforce a certain will on them. But I think it's just to remember that these are only guided by what you see from your child, because your child, just like you mentioned in part 1, your child might get eaten alive in those circumstances. And so you have to be, I feel as a parent, I am a student of my child. I've got a notes folder in my phone that says, her name's Cleo Observations. That's in my phone. So it's constantly looking at, I've noticed that she learns from watching. So she can watch me do something, and now she's only 1 in a couple months. She already puts the clothes into the washing machine on her own. She cleans her own table. And because she sees me and my mum and her mum do it, she's a visual learner. I'm like, okay, cool, let me write that down. She is someone who is very empathetic. So she can attach herself with what emotion you're feeling with very quickly. And so I'm like, okay, cool. She's someone who's emotionally literate and intelligent. So it does behove you to be a parent, an uncle, an aunt who is very observant of what could help that child thrive. And if you observe it and you feel that a private school or a boarding school could enhance and cause that child to thrive, cool, then that's the route. If you don't think so, that's totally fine. They're all different routes for that child to attain. And so it really takes an analytical and
Exactly.
observant eye of what are the things that are going to enhance the purpose, of this child. And only you as a parent are going to be able to know how to do that. But it's great that we have people like you who, if this is a route we want to take, we have someone in that realm. We need people in that realm because we don't know what's happening, what's that word? How do you say it? Prerequisites. We don't know what the prerequisites are over there. I do encourage everyone, after this, go and check out Elaine and everything that she's doing and get in contact, connect with her, promote what she's doing, because a lot of parents don't know that, someone mentioned there's barriers to the finances. Well, you can sit down with Elaine and she can show you a myriad of options that are available, that even if finances are an issue, she can show you, right, this is a way. Maybe you pay half now, 6 months down the line, you pay the other half. There are ways that other people have tapped into that we may just not know about, and it's about being aware of them and taking on that knowledge, All right, I'm going to ask this question, last few questions. What challenges did you face raising geniuses? What challenges did you face raising geniuses?
When they see the fees as well, they think that they got.
Oh, you're breaking up. Oh, you're frozen now. You're frozen like this.
Do you know what? Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're frozen a bit.
Cool. Can you hear me?
Oh no, you're totally frozen. Okay, let me try and come back.
Cool.
I'll take you out. Okay. Can you hear me now? Are you cool? Let me try and get her again. Big up everyone that's joined us for part 2, 21 questions of Elaine Cunningham Walker. It's been amazing. I hope you're cool. Send a message in the chat. Let us know how you've been finding this. We're going to round up in about, what's the time? About 5 minutes. So if you do have a question, put it in the question section right now, because we're going to be rounding up. All right, let's go. Just waiting to connect. So insightful, Miss says. So good. Simply Marion says, this is amazing. Inspired by Moen says, great discussion. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Really learning everything, though I don't have children yet. And this is the best time to learn it. This is the best time to learn it when you don't have your children. So you can kind of prepare. Is there anything that stood out to you guys that you kind of didn't know before, but now you know? Let me know. Becky, it's okay, man. That's why we're here. Marion says, I'm happy I have a toddler and I'm getting these gems now. For real. For real. All right, let me try and join again. Is it too late to prepare for 11 plus if your child just started year 6? That's a good question to ask.
Hello.
Hello, you right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Becky asked, is it, sorry, not Becky, it was Deborah. She said, is it too late to prepare for 11 plus if your child just started year 6?
Comes down to the plan. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a grammar school? It is a little bit late because the exams are now. If you're looking for a private school, have a chat with me, because the private school 11 plus exams are in January. So I don't think it's ever too late. It's just, what are you trying to achieve? What do you want to go for?
Yeah. Our next question is from JK Good is Real. It says here, after observing your child, how do you know what kind of school is right for your child?
That's a tricky one. And that means that you have, my friend, the educational consultant, said it is a tight deadline. Yeah, but Julie, it depends what school they're going for. But how do you know? That would mean you'd have to have insight in all of the schools possible in the UK. What you could do is maybe say, okay, I want schools in this particular area, and visit the schools. Read what's on the website. Visit the schools. I always say that schools are like they carry spirits. So even when you go there, if you don't feel very comfortable about the school, number one, it's not the right school for your child. If you feel comfortable around the school, then the next thing is, okay, so what's their pastoral care like? What's this like? What's that like? And then you can begin to, you know your child, and you'll know whether your child will fit in there or not. Why? Because you as a parent will get that feeling as to whether, can I see my child here? Can I not see my child here? The other thing is that schools are like buying a house. You know, when you walk into a house, you go, this is the one. This is where we're going to raise our family. That's what schools are like. And so if you don't get that feeling, that's what I would say. Before you go to a school, you already understand the kind of attributes that your child has that they can bring to the school. So that's what I normally say to parents.
Yeah, definitely. Is there... Oh, we answered this question, but it cut off. Where did you have any challenges in raising, in quotes, geniuses? They got to go into the program Child Genius, and I saw that there was criticism that you received on that channel, as people felt that you were being too hard on them. They felt that you were a pushy parent. They felt that you were trying to push them into a direction that they didn't necessarily want to go into. That's why they cried, etc., etc. What challenges are there in trying to get your child to succeed and be the best that they can be?
I think the first thing is that you have to have a relationship with your child, because if you look at our demographic, we tend to go, do your work, do your work, do your work. There's no conversation. Do your work. Don't read your book.
Is that true? Do your work.
Do your work. Don't read your book. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Oh, good. Okay.
So, yeah, so I think I never knew that my children were smart because their mum is. You can't, not be that clever. But I think what the Child Genius allowed me to see is that there's more to this. Children are, you just peel the layers. There's so much to them, and it allowed me to see a lot of people didn't take, I did get a lot of criticism, but they didn't take the fact that when my child said, I don't want to do this, I could have gone, you're doing this, but I said, you don't want to do it? It's cool. It's only a competition. It's not that deep, but people did say that I'm across as a pushy parent, but you know what? I think that in this world, there are mothers that are more pushy than me. Trust me. I'm around them. I call them the crazy mothers. I'm around them, and they want to see their children achieve. They want to position their children. And if you don't position your children aggressively, they're going to get left behind. They really are. And yes, we want them to be nurtured, and yes, we want them to do so well. But we also need to make sure that we do the work that gets them on the path to success that we want them to get onto. So yeah, raising two boys, I think, is just challenging in itself, whether they're geniuses or not. As a single mother, I even know when they were going through, like 13, that kind of age, and my son would say, you don't know what it's like to be a boy going through puberty, and I don't. So then I lead on my brother, their godfathers, my dad. But I think one thing that I have been throughout the whole journey is I've been stable. I've been there. So I could be in America and my son will call me on WhatsApp to say, can you send me some money, please, mummy? Because they know that I'm always there for them. And that's one thing that I pride. In spite of all the accolades that they might have done, the fact that they know that their mum's got their back, I think that's really important.
That's beautiful. Another question here is, what advice would you give homeschooling a teen boy, age 14, who challenges doing the work? This is from Bianca.
I think sometimes we see challenging doing the work because we have been taught to do work in a particular way. And that might not, the way, for example, I can never teach my children maths. Like I'll beat you. You know, I think the way that you need to really understand your child's learning style, and it's not that he's challenging, it's just that he doesn't learn the same way you do. So you need to find out what your child's learning style is, and your child might be that, you know, there are a couple of apps that you can get on your iPad that can, you know, you might have a visual learner, you might have a kinesthetic learner, you might have an auditory learner, and maybe you work, like you were saying that your daughter learns by watching you. That's a kinesthetic learner. She's doing, right? It could have been that, you know, you give her a set of instructions and she follows it to the letter, but you show her those instructions, but she's just like, what are you doing? Right? But it's so you've understood the type of learner. Sometimes we tend to have a bit of everything, but one tends to stand out more than the other.
Yeah.
And so as a 14-year-old, I know it's difficult because you want them to do well. It's usually like year 9. That's a challenging year anyway, for the individual, because that's when there's a book called The Teenage Brain. I've got it in my study here somewhere, but it's called The Teenage Brain. When you read that book, you begin to understand what's happening in your child's mind. And very often we think that children need us when they're little, but actually when they become teenagers, they go into 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. That's when they need us to be there more and not to be judgmental, because they're trying to find their way in society. They're trying to figure out who they really are. And so, you know, I could have my son tell me that he can't stand me one minute, the next minute it's like, oh, mommy, I love you. But that's just because it's the hormones, and he's just going through trying to push certain boundaries. And so I wouldn't look at it so much as challenging work. Just maybe it could be a challenge because he doesn't understand it, and he doesn't know how to tell you because he doesn't want to let you down. So I think maybe she should slide into my DMs.
Do it. And you know that even that, Bianca, the question that you asked, pose that to him or her, to that child. What way would you learn best in this whole homeschooling situation we're finding ourselves in? What do you think? How do you learn best in school? Because that might be, that collaborative learning might actually be the way, rather than you seeing yourself, okay, I've got to know everything and teach them. Whereas if there's more of a collaborative learning, you're both learning from each other. They're showing you what they learn, and you can see what is missing and kind of guide them through that. Another question that came is, let's see, another one that's come. Okay, do you think an outstanding Ofsted secondary school will still give a child a better start for the future?
That's a very controversial question for me. I think that
Let's go.
whatever route you choose for your child, you just make sure that you get the best quality education for your child. You know, wherever you need to support your child. I mean, there are, when it comes to examinations, there are revision courses. I'm putting one on in October. There are certain disciplines that you tend to learn in schools that you don't tend to learn in state schools. You know, the discipline of, my son called me the other day, Mommy, if I don't turn up to maths without my calculator again, I'm going to get a new calculator, but it hadn't reached the school yet. And so it was a case of me sending an email to screenshot the fact that it's been bought and it's on its way and say. But I think that an excellent Ofsted school, what are you looking for? What's your end result? What are you trying to achieve? But you should always be saying, what are you trying to achieve? If you go to an amazing Ofsted school and you end up in, you know, Russell Group or Ivy League, that's brilliant. But remember that that's not the end of the journey. We're trying to do legacy here. So what are you trying to achieve from that? And when you end up in those institutions, what are you doing? Are you networking? Are you getting to know people? So, because I find students from our demographic tend to go to university, just keep their head down and they work. Whereas if you kept your head down, you worked, but you networked and you knew that JP Morgan was doing a networking evening and you went there and you met somebody and that person became good, you got them on your LinkedIn. That's another thing. People don't know how to do social media networking before they get to an event, you know. So you can go to Ofsted Excellence. I mean, it's purely up to you. I don't really want to go there too much because, you know, I'm an advocate for private schools.
Yeah. Guys, I really would say, use, in a good way, use Elaine. Use her to bounce off your ideas. Use her, you know, and it might cost you. Yeah, make sure you pay what it is worth. But she's someone who has the insight. She may not have all the answers, but I'm guaranteed within her network, she will pull that answer and get it for you. So beyond this, you know, this is, you know, when we do these 21 questions, it's to shine light on people that are doing amazing things in our community, but for us also to see that they're there, because sometimes we just don't.
Yeah.
Doing things on a high level and everyone can see, but there's people to our left and to our right that are doing great things that if you connect with, oh my days, what was going to take you 12 steps will maybe take you 2. All right. We're going to end this now because my battery is saying low.
I love that. Oh.
But tell me finally, what are your ambitions for the future, especially with all that you're doing?
Okay, so my biggest ambition that, yeah, I think my biggest ambition, my biggest passion is to change the lives of children. So I'm looking to build an educational fund to make sure that not just children in this, my vision for that is they go into the independent system, they go into Russell Group, and then they go back to their home country and they implement change in such a way that, so basically we're building leaders of the future. And for women, I want to be a big hope for them that, you know, the Bible tells us that the stone that the builder rejected,
Yeah.
If you felt rejected, if you felt lost, if you felt you can't do it, I want you to look at my life and know that you can do it. Lost. And I think my biggest plan is that. And obviously, can I say that?
Get that money. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause in the comment section, please, for Elaine's time, her story, and her voice is so important. It's so important. And I applaud you and I salute you. You, in part 1, didn't use your pass card. You, in part 2, didn't use your pass card. So your prize is this. Can I give you your prize? So your prize is one of my...
Please.
Your prize is a scripture that I hold dear to my heart. And it kind of shapes and guides me. All right? All right? So I'm going to type it because it will be for everyone as well. But this is for you specifically. Ecclesiastes 9:10. All right? Ecclesiastes says, 9:10 says, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. Because in the grave where we're going, there is no work. Whatever your hands find to do, whatever it is, do it with all your might. Because in the grave where we're all going, there is no work. And so that is for you to take as your prize. That as you're going, know that your hands are doing great work. whatever you touch, whatever you decide to embark on, whether it's in the UK, abroad, wherever it is, globally, internationally, just do it with all your might. So that by the time you enter those gates and they ask you what you did with your gift that was given in your hands, you'll be saying, look, I did everything I could, and I'm going into your kingdom empty-handed because I left everything that I could down here. Yeah. So that's my gift to you, just to say thank you so much for spending your time and even going extra and over extra time. Yeah. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed
No
it.
problem. No problem at all. No problem at all. Guys, like I said, make sure connect with Elaine after this. Do not stall. Don't dull. All right. And I always say, Elaine, anybody that we ask to come on this is because we've seen what you're doing. We want to shine a light on it, and we want to continue to celebrate it. And so anything that you're doing that you need us to promote, just swing it our way. We're going to be stalking you anyway. And anything that you're doing, we're going to just be trumpeting it and just blasting it out there. So thank you so much for your time. And we're just wishing your family, your sons all the best. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Oh, you look frozen. Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
No worries at all. Take care. Guys, thank you so much. 21 questions. Oh, man. Let me know in the comment section how you have found today. I personally loved it. So many gems, so much wisdom. Just things that I can, me and my wife, we can just apply for our daughter, and just in the way that it molds her, that best suits her vision and her purpose. So guys, man, it's been good. It's been good. Make sure, go back and watch part 1 and part 2. It's going to be on our IGTV, and we're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to put it on our podcast platform so that you can go back and listen. After this, click the link in the bio. That is your job. Click the link in the bio. Watch all our other episodes. Make sure you're following Elaine and jump in her DMs, please. Jump straight into her DMs and see how she can be of benefit to you, even if you're not a parent now, in the future, how that can be of benefit to you. So let's just get some comments. Becky said, very enriching and insightful. Simply Marion said, I will get straight to work with my child. Olufem said it was full of so much. Mrs. Yeager said, fab. Awesome. Becky says, this has sincerely been great. Guys, thank you so much. We're going to be back here next week, next Thursday, 9 p.m, 21 questions. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you for joining us. Take care. God bless. I've been Icy. Peace.